Well, we got some information for you about immigration trends. Looks like they've been slowing over the last decade. Check out the story. In this next story, we're talking about some dramatic changes in immigration that have come about over the last few years. And most specifically, very recently we've seen this huge trend that happened during the pandemic, and it's called the Great Resignation, where people of all ages and occupations walked away from their jobs and, put themselves in a position to take different kinds of employment, either home-based or remote, and really change their careers. But this has also led to a shortage of workers, a high demand for new labor in positions all across different industries has shown itself throughout this pandemic. And the part that matters to us, what we see is the net international migration figures have been falling over a period of 5 years. So that means from 2016 to now, we've seen a dramatic decline in the amount of migration specifically for jobs in the United States. And so even though we see this change with the pandemic, we also know that we've had this trend going, and the pandemic really highlighted some of these dramatic changes we've seen in migration. And in all those declines, since 2016, there have been millions of more immigrants in the country today if migration had kept a steady pace. So the truth is, what we're seeing is a decline in migration, both skilled and unskilled workers, and we're seeing that happen over 5 years before the pandemic even kicked in. The last decade has been the slowest rate of growth, and that also includes in terms of birth rate, what we're seeing in terms of workers entering the workforce. So when you look at all the kinds of jobs that we have out there, we've got some of these charts which show very clearly where foreign workers are fitting in and what percentage they are in the U.S. workforce. So for example, a great chart that we're putting up would be one that shows in the service industry. When you look at the service industry, the SEIU is a very popular labor organization, and that means workers in the hotel industries and throughout all the service, hospitality, and restaurant industries. You see that foreign-born workers are actually taking up 20% of the jobs in the service industry. And that itself tells you that while you might have a higher expectation and you might believe that some of these jobs are all foreign workers, it's actually just a smaller percentage. And you can see that these industries have taken big hits during the pandemic, and we're seeing changes in some of those numbers. So, for instance, foreign-born workers are more likely to work in service jobs than native-born workers. And among the foreign-born, 21% in the service industry are compared to 14% of the native-born population. Now, and this is all from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. What we're saying here is there's a declining trend in terms of immigration. We're seeing less people migrating to the United States. That was exacerbated in the pandemic. And when you look at the job industry and what's out there, the truth is there are many jobs available, and there are skilled, unskilled jobs that could go to Americans as well as foreign-born workers. To support some of these numbers that we're showing you here is the simple fact that immigration lawyers and in the immigration industry, the amount of phone calls we get from U.S. workers, employers, trying to find, and I'm talking about unskilled labor. I'm talking in the fields of carpentry, construction, in all sorts of simple service type industries. You're seeing a high demand. Electricians, plumbers, you name it. People are looking for more people. This has to change, and we do need some policy changes from the Biden administration to address this. Number one, what we need to do is see a change in the backlog for EB workers, and we need to see a change in the H-2A, H-2B programs, which are also short-term programs that may need to be expanded to cover some of these skilled and unskilled worker positions. Finally, we need to see some overhaul of the H-1B system. At this point, it doesn't make a lot of sense. H-1Bs do show, has been a program that has problems, and everyone always focuses on the fraud. But the truth is, the H-1B program provides growth to the middle class in the United States. Many of these jobs, the salaries are 50, 60, 70, and as we cited today and earlier, salaries in the $100,000 range. Those are middle class jobs. Those individuals buy homes, they reside in our communities, and they contribute to the United States. The H-1B program itself is actually a growth program for the middle class in the United States, and we do need to see the Biden administration make some changes. We'll be following that and coming back to you this year with more information on that. Stay tuned.